Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for this segment, we have Ankitt Gaur. He's the founder of EasyFi, a layer 2 DeFi lending protocol for digital assets, to discuss further DeFi adoption in 2022, leveraging the metaverse and NFTs. Ankitt, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Hi, Jill. Thank you for having me here today. Pleasure to be talking to you guys today.
You got it. And we're starting to hear about purchasing digital lands in the metaverse. How exactly would that work?
Oh, that's quite interesting stuff. So basically, before we get into that, I see digital lands and the properties in the metaverses to be coming into usage. But prior to that, let's first quickly understand what and how metaverses are going to change our lives. So metaverses today, and I was talking about this in this evening with somebody, metaverses today are at a stage where e-commerce or the websites were in 2001 and 2. So at that point of time, we were only seeing websites to only display certain information. But today, the web has completely changed the way we do different things. So similarly, we see metaverses also evolving and getting into our lives as the period goes by. Therefore, we are all going to require space, our own area, our own interactability into various different metaverses. Now, to be able to offer these services, offer different kind of experiences, people are requiring to own a certain piece of land. So today you can buy land in Decentraland, in Sandbox, different existing metaverses, but you never know whether these are going to be the next Facebook of the metaverses, because Facebook was not the first social media platform. Similarly, the metaverses that are existing today, you never know whether there is going to be a new Facebook for metaverse. Therefore, the metaverses, the game is on, people are catching up on it, but buying land and various different properties are now getting a new meaning, where these properties are going to be enabling you to earn passive income. Like people are today who have bought a land are now able to generate passive income in rentals in Sandbox. Mm-hmm. So as the experiences will evolve, people will get more and more involved into this and be able to generate various different passive income. Now, to buy it, you can go to that particular respective metaverse, which you think is going to help you generate the passive income, and people can buy lands into different metaverses.
So, Ankitt, it's interesting, if I understand the metaverse correctly, and it's obviously used for different use cases besides digital properties. I mean, I could tell you in grad school, we talk about the metaverse as it relates to media and different platforms and users having more ownership over the content versus a Facebook or a Google or an Apple. Do you think the metaverse could potentially run the risk, to your point before when you said, which metaverse is going to be the next Facebook, where it deviates from that decentralized platform? It is not as user-based, and it comes down to the companies with the most money being able to leverage these platforms. Does that concern you at all?
No. So when I say which is going to be next Facebook, I'm talking about in context of adoption. So as I was putting in the context, Facebook became one of the most popular social media platform, but it was not the first or the earliest. We all have gone through the journey of Orkut, which actually potentially introduced most of us with social media, at least in our generation, not the Gen Z generation, which came onto Facebook or social media very late. But Orkut was quite popular before Facebook came. And that was a platform which introduced all of us to how and what potentially social media can be. And then Facebook came and then changed the game altogether and became the king of adoption in social media. So I'm talking about in that context. While the next most adopted social media, the metaverse platform is definitely going to be powered by Web3. There is no second doubt that it can become huge, scalable, acceptable by being a centralized entity. So that is for sure, that thing is completely sorted. But what I meant is that the metaverses I also see are going to eventually get verticalized and niche based. So for example, there will be one metaverse which might be very popular. Again, these are all my understandings and how people think and we talk about. So there might be one metaverse which would be very popular for concerts. There will be one metaverse which will be good for business meetings. There will be one metaverse which will be good for commerce, like experiential commerce, which I've been talking into various different talks of mine. So as potentially there are going to be metaverses which are going to be either niche-based, industry specific. For example, there can be a fashion metaverse. There might be an automobile metaverse where there will be all different kind of cars, showrooms, which will have their own experiential stores where you can go and actually experience the car before going into the store. What we go when I have to go and buy a car, I visit a showroom, I want to see the car. So same thing you can do using VR glasses into the experiential store. Now, that is going to be a real use case for metaverse.
Right. And I think that's what's really exciting about it, because it's the communities that are developing the structure behind it, if you will. And I think that's what makes it really exciting, gives us a piece of ownership into the content and the experiences that we want to have. So Ankit, let me ask you this question. When you're purchasing digital properties in the metaverse, will loans or traditional structured products be part of that transaction, or will you leverage smart contracts or NFTs as an example to finance the purchases?
That's a fantastic question, and that's exactly what EasyFi is on to doing. So today, the way real world assets, the real world property lending markets work is that you typically go to a bank, you deposit, pay a portion of the total deal value, and then that balance bank comes in and finance that. Instead of coming in financing these digital assets, these digital properties that you're buying either in form of land or in form of a shop or a store, it's the protocol like EasyFi, which and others which will come as we go along, which are going to bring in that mortgage. So today there is already lending services available against NFTs, but most of those lending services act as a collateral. So it's like taking a loan against your gold ornaments, where you're putting your gold ornaments as collateral and then you're getting liquidity against it. So the purpose of loans in both the scenarios is very different. In one case, you are putting gold as a collateral to get liquidity on your gold to solve any urgent liquidity problem. On the other hand, the kind of lending options that we are discussing here is where the digital property that you are buying, say, let's take an example. Suppose you want to buy a plot of land in Decentraland on which you want to build a shop, which you want to rent out for, let's say, Tesco to come and create their store on top of it, or maybe to Macy's to come and create their experiential store on top of it. Now, you want to do this investment and you have this very clear vision idea, but then you don't have capital, for example. Now, what you do, let's say the piece of land costs $100,000. You will shell out a portion of that particular land as per the deal terms, let's say $20,000, and balance $80,000 comes from the protocol. And that piece of land gets locked in the smart contract. So you do not get that land in your wallet, but that land gets locked in the smart contract. And based on that particular situation, as you keep on paying your monthly installments, once the entire loan is paid off, you get your piece of land into your custody in your wallet. In the meantime, you have the option to sell it out in the market like you have always in the real world. So it's exactly same how mortgages are going to work into metaverses, and that's what EasyFi is working on.
And it's so interesting. And Ankit, forgive me if this is a very basic question, but just for the benefit of the audience, who owns the digital lands? Can I go out into the metaverse and create, let's say, the island of Jill, if you will? What does the structure look like? How does that work?
Okay, so whenever a metaverse is launched, they already have a predefined land inventory or a land base. Then they sell that land base and allow users to come and build on top of it whatever they want to build. So for example, when for example a new township is coming up in our cities or in our regular real world situation, there also either there is a developer which develop the building and then sell you smaller units in form of apartments, or there is a estate, the land estate that you can buy and you can build on top of it whatever kind of home that you want to build on top of it. So these are different scenarios, and the similar scenarios are now coming in the metaverse. So if I launch my metaverse, it is, let's say, for example, known for a certain kind of experiences. Suppose I create a metaverse, for example, Somnium, which is now being positioned as a powerful tool or a metaverse where most of the events can happen. Now, what potentially is going to happen is that I am going to buy a piece of land in Somnium space because I know that people come to Somnium space metaverse. I will buy a piece of land and there I'll create, let's say, a concert hall. and I will start renting it out for various different concerts, or I can host concerts into my hall if I'm into the events industry. So typically what happens in a metaverse, generally the inventory size, the land inventory in which you can position and build something on top is finite and is defined by the projects.
Right. All right. Well, super interesting. Look, there's a market for it and there's supply and demand for it. Why not on digital properties? All right, Ankit, we appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you, Jill. Take care.